awake from a dream of severe poverty and desperate, sad degradation of man. I was in a public type of place, quite crowded, and there were desperate souls asleep, wrapped up in blankets, and one rose and, I don't know, threw the blanket over the head of someone and then went to steal his blanket. Their clothes were brown, old. They were thin and utterly deprived and neglected. And I was appalled at their desperately sad state. Frighteningly degraded. They exhibited erratic behaviour. They would run up to and stand dramatically and then run away again. And one man in particular, I caught the eye of a chap beside me who was not in quite the same, his face was hardened. He hated me in his look on his face. He was about 35, 28, 35. I cut across his presence and said, "Hello, mate." Something like that, "Hello, mate." And his countenance changed and he behaved most civilized in response. Related for a moment. Perhaps because he knew that I was having none of his hostility and hatred towards me. I just responded as not the person he thought. And it changed him. He still had the other character as well, and you could say this was just a social gloss, but I'm not sure as it was. And I sat down. It was like being on a pyramid of stairs. All these people around me. And I absolutely wept. I think it was to God, but I'm not certain. It was like an extremely pure case of how I felt in Bangalore. Far, far too much desperate poverty around me. But not the degradation of somehow haunting mental illness and misery, whereas in the dream it was appallingly appalling. I don't know what to make of it. I just completed a note, a late note, so to speak, on not sure, was it 1622? He loves us. Title's He Loves Us anyway. About the prophetic. But I don't know what to say for God, for this dream, or why I've had it. Or how God feels about the reality it's been for so many souls. Both the physical, literal reality and the spiritual, desperate deprivation as well. Across the planet through time as well. You could say it was an experience of the deprivation that so many have experienced of God's loving care and kindness, provision and rescue. Or you could say it's the frightening picture of how we would all be but for our Heavenly Father's loving kindness. It is then what He's rescued us from or from becoming, even from being. After all, it's only in parables and parallels. He's saying something about how low existence could be in comparison to the goodness that we experience. The rest of us, anyway, that have not experienced such frightening depths. Let me pause a minute. Now look, this isn't just a dream for you. You can look at the creatures around you, the insect life especially, and the wild creatures in much fear, possessing nothing, struggling for existence, striving and struggling with each other. No concept of the love of God apparent upon them and in their lives. May it call out your loving response to them, that you do not make their life worse, deliberately killing them, deliberately harming them, deliberately depriving them. May you be blessed with a kindness to all of creation in the spirit of our loving Heavenly Father who made all. And I'm not sure I should say it quite like this, but how much more with the people around you refuse to respond to every mistake that they make, to any mistake that they make. Hold them in as much as you are able in loving kindness. If I may speak figuratively for a moment, if not literally, embrace them with your loving kindness. Bring heaven to them. Why else would we be left in this bewildering universe of uncertainty? But to declare the goodness and glory of God and the incredible blessing of the thought of Him, of the thought of His love and His care, and how it can transform, I was going to say existence, but really non-existence, into perfect life eternal. So, I feel God has given me an immediate experience of example of being in the prophetic. I'm not sure whether that's an adequate or quaint or peculiar phrase. But just to say you can speak for God. You have every right and privilege to do so. Bless you. May your life be blessed by a flood of loving kindness, both to you, through you, and from you to all around you. May you be the blessing and light and goodness of our Heavenly Father. Wherever you go, wherever you are, may everyone that sees you or thinks upon you be blessed and lifted into His eternal glory. You have to know what is the ideal, and you take hold of it. You are the glory of God, the blessing to all creation, and nothing is going to stop you being such eternally. Thank you, Heavenly Father. Yes, I feel I should add that in the dream I sat at the top of this pyramid of stairs that somehow expanded before me and down ahead of me, because I couldn't risk walking down. There was no banister or anything. You just walked down, and if you fell, you would fall. Well, there were many, many, many stairs. The long stairway down, long. So it was, you felt, too unsure to walk down. So I sat down actually for safety and wept. And another thing I should mention is that in the daytime I had a friend who, this is not a dream, this is the previous day, yesterday. Well, she's very unhappy, and she phoned me out the blue. She wouldn't normally have phoned me. She's a religious person that's not, well, can't trust my view of religion. But in her desperation, she knew that Marshall was the person to contact. And she did. And when I held her hand and said to her, most earnestly, because I was concerned after some considerable time with her, that whenever she felt suicidal, she must phone me. Any time, day or night, I will come and get her. You must do that, right? And she was in much tears, because I found that I had touched on the reality of how she had been feeling prior to phoning me. She actually left me a text message. We had a lovely morning. Sometimes you're being a blessing, don't you? The love of God is just with us, and He could bless this person, of course, another way, but He chooses to do it through us because He wants us to be blessed. So much. Doesn't just love the person that you're blessing. He loves you too. He does it through you because, well, He does a greater thing in you than through you. To tell you how much He loves you. And loves them too, of course. Of course, of course. She's a good soul, this lady I was talking about. She suffered a rotten injustice at the hands of her immediate family. Her mum, and I think it's her brother and family, that just left her out and made her homeless. And she lived in her car for I don't know how long. And she has a daughter that she has kept with one way and another. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm trying to... Let me pause a sec. Well, she just felt that God had told her to give her car away and any other possession she's got. And she's staying for at least a while with a very interesting lady whom I've known in the past. And when I picked up my friend from that lady's house, this other lady, she didn't like me when she first used to know me. There was something that she just did not like about Marshall, and I felt it, and I couldn't get past it. But she loved me today. Well, yesterday now, sorry. She loved me. She was an angel. Because, of course, she was caring for our friend, and she knew I was too. She knew I was a strange man, as strange as she is a lady. I mean, the one that helps. Goodness, the one being helped strange as well. We're all very odd, aren't we? But we knew we were both being loving and caring to our friend in need. Gosh, my eyes are tearing up. What a fantastic blessing God makes our lives. Well, of course, the upshot of the day was, by the early afternoon, that my friend was, well, she knew I loved and cared for her. That's what counted. And of course, her friend loves and cares for her, providing accommodation. And I don't suppose her friend can make too much of the sense of this having been told to just give her car away, and, you know, the lady is in need. But somehow it all matters much less because of the incredible presence of the love of God in all three of us. That's what living in the prophetic is, I think. Do you glimpse it with me? It's to be in such godly purpose that you are the kingdom of heaven wherever you are. I speak in parables, but you're speaking for God. We are His presence. Because of His loving kindness in us, His self. Thank you, Heavenly Father. It interestingly notes with me that the three of us were so different. I mean, I'm a very strange form of Christian, as probably you realise from my recordings. The lady I'm helping, we were helping, separately of course, but we were helping, is what's considered a very unacceptable cult to other Christians, what one might call normal run-of-the-mill Christians in our society. And to the world, downright weird, of course. And the other lady who was giving her accommodation at the minute, well, she's secular, I would say New Age, probably quite extremely New Age. You know, we're three very unlikely people you would have thought that loved each other. But we do. Do you see the love of God knows no boundaries? It's not the prerogative of the religious, or a particular religion, or a particular philosophy, or a particular persuasion. And I think this is so because we all exist because of him, our Heavenly Father. And he loves us. Yes, we are all very different children of his. Has no favourites. Loves his children. If you would such, how much more our Heavenly Father. Love you, Heavenly Father. Thank you, Heavenly Father. When you know you're about to be taken from this world, what the world sees as dying, right? Know in your heart that you have come to know the love of God. And there is no way you can die. You have entered into life eternal already. And the body may fall off from your spirit, so to speak. But you live forever in the loving kindness of our Heavenly Father, and as part of the fantastic host of heaven, his family, in whom he rejoices, and we all rejoice by his grace and goodness. Be very clear that you know you love him and that he loves you, and you will be okay. Bless you. Thank you, Heavenly Father.